Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen Vanderzyden, and this is Creating an Inspired Life. Thank you so much for watching and listening today. I'm a medium, and as a medium, I connect in with our loved ones on the other side, and I'm also a certified intuitive life coach. And as a life coach, I help people basically handle their problems or come up with different strategies to complete goals, things like that. I spend most of my time doing those two things, and I love it. Today's coaching tip is all about releasing attachment and trusting the process of life. I've been looking for houses to buy. Even though I still have a house I'm living in that I need to sell, I thought I should start looking around to see if there's a house I could buy, something that interests me. So I've been keeping my eye on a certain house for quite some time, years actually, kind of hoping that someday it would go on sale and I could buy it. So I happened to drive by it a little bit ago, and I saw the house actually was for sale. So I was very excited. So I called them up right away, and they don't call me back right away, of course. But I did talk to a friend of mine who knew more about the situation and told me she had heard the price was huge, absolutely gigantic. And I thought, well, this is odd. It's way out of line with the other houses in the area. But I thought, well, I don't know this for sure. So we'll see what happens. They did call me back, and I did get to go look at the house, which was nice to see it. However, when I went inside, it was apparent that it needed a lot of work, at least $100,000 of work. I would have to be replacing all of the windows, the roof, the siding, the carpets, the floor. There's some walls needed to be replaced. So it was going to cost a significant amount of money to even have a chance to buy this house. And then the selling price was gigantic. It was absolutely ridiculous. They had based the price on the view. There's a little view of a lake there, and it is on the private side, but the house itself was not worth at all what they were asking. And this was even more disturbing because in this location, you have to pay cash for the house. You can't have a mortgage. So there was no way I was going to come with hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I thought, well, what can you do? So I went back to searching for houses, and I would go online and look at different houses, and I would find these houses where the pictures were great. The rooms seemed to be spacious. There were lots of windows. And then I would go drive by the house to see what it really looked like, because, you know, sometimes they take those pictures and it's not entirely accurate. And I would go and look at these, and they were horrible. One was next to a highway, a major highway. One was next to railroad tracks, very close to railroad tracks. One had another house about 8 feet away from it. And then the last one I looked at had the school bus garage right behind the house and on the side of the house, 2 big garages. And if I were to buy that house, of course, I'd be listening to the buses warming up early every morning on a school day, which is not my idea of a good time. So as I was doing this became a kind of an emotionally charged experience for me. I would find a house I like, and I would get all excited and attached to the idea that this house could work. This could work. I would like the pictures or whatever, and then I would go, and there'd be some reason why it wasn't going to work. My emotions were all over the place. When we get attached to an idea, whether it's buying a certain house or how we think others are treating us, or maybe we're attached to something we want to have, or we want something in our lives, whatever it is that we can get attached to, it creates an emotional response, an emotional reaction that can affect the quality of our lives. I noticed I would get excited about something one minute, and then after I looked at the house again, I would be like, oh, this isn't going to work at all. And so I'd be disappointed, and I started to feel a little bit out of control. After being disappointed about 5 times, I finally got it. And I realized that with each house, I was starting to get attached to the idea that this could work, and I would start to make plans in my head. I wasn't trusting the process of life. I wasn't trusting the idea that the right house would come to me in the right time, that I was getting attached to these ideas, and it was getting in the way of my peace, actually. And my emotions ended up letting me know I had moved out of the trusting. Attachment is tricky. Our brains naturally want to feel safe. We want to feel in control. We try to make sense of what's happening in life. We don't like the change or uncertainty, whatever happens, and our brains automatically resist them. We unknowingly can become attached to certain perceptions or ideas. We don't even know we're doing it. It just happens. Something to think about. Are you expecting other people to act in a certain way? Do you want them to do something to make you feel better? Do you want them to do something just to be there for you in a way that you want? What you're doing is you're actually attached to an idea as to what someone else needs to do. You're actually getting upset over a thought in your head rather than what is really happening, and you're not allowing life to be the way it is. And the next thing is, have you ever wanted life to be the way it used to be when it was better, before you had whatever problem you might happen to have in your life now? We've all been there. We get attached to the past when we think life used to be easier. We are not accepting life as it is right now in the present. We're not trusting that what we are currently experiencing is what we're supposed to be experiencing at this time. We can get attached to the idea that we're not good enough, and then we do things to ourselves to make that belief true. We tell ourselves we're stupid or incapable because we feel we don't handle life as well as we think we should. Attaching to ideas or perceptions is a sign of resisting the process of life. We are not trusting that life will work out the way it's supposed to. Attachment can cause that emotional pain. We're not satisfied with the way the life is right now in the present. We're not enjoying what we have. We're instead disappointed, angry, sad, upset, whatever it is. But what if instead of trying to control life, trying to force things to happen, that we trusted the process instead? We let go of this idea of attachment. We would go with the flow of the opportunities that life presents to us without trying to control things. Now, this is a really big concept. It means we have to give up our resistance to change. We have to give up whining and complaining about how hard life is. We have to be willing to accept that things are going to happen that we have no control over. And then we have to make the conscious choice to trust the process. I had a client a little while ago whose relationship had recently ended, and she wanted me to tell her they were going to get back together. And she actually said to me, I need you to tell me they are going to get back together. And I couldn't do that, of course. But for her, it was the only way she could handle the pain she was experiencing, by holding on and being attached to this thought. She was so attached to this idea, she couldn't consider any other option. She was actually in survival mode, I call it, where you hold on to anything you possibly can to help yourself feel better. But at some point, she's going to have to make the choice to move forward. She's going to have to make the choice to move on. And she'll have to let go of this idea that that is the only possible outcome. And hopefully she will make that choice to trust that whatever is happening is there for her highest and best. And then she'll be able to deal with the situation in a better way. When we trust the process of life, we actually give up trying to control, but we're also giving up the worry and the stress, and we feel better. As soon as I realized I kept getting attached to these possible houses, I made the conscious decision to trust it would work out the way it's supposed to. Every time I start to get stressed about it, and I still do on occasion, I say to myself, you know what, the right house is going to come in just the right time. I have to make a point to allow it to unfold as it's going to unfold, because no matter what I do, I cannot control it. So I have to let go and trust. Now, that doesn't mean I sit here and do nothing. I'm still looking for houses, but now I'm looking for them with some detachment. I don't have that emotional attachment going on. I'm more able to clearly see the facts of what's available rather than letting my emotions influence me. So what you might want to do is think about if there's an idea, something you might be attached to. Maybe you're attached to an idea, a thought, or something that might be causing you distress or worry. Find out what it is. Ask yourself how you think life should be better, how it could be better. Do you want someone else to do something so you feel better? Are you attached to a certain belief that life should be a certain way? Are you attached to something you really want and you're so attached to it you don't realize you can't see some other options that could be right in front of you? And ask yourself also if you're trying to control things. If you're worried or stressed about something in your life, you're not trusting the process. Explore this concept of attachment and how it affects your life, because I think if you do that, you'll find out that you're not trusting the process of life if you are attached to certain things. And we all do it. We all get attached to certain outcomes. We want things to be a certain way. And when it doesn't go that way, we get upset. So if we could instead just trust that it's going to work, we will feel so much better. And that's my coaching tip of the day. You can reach me at psychicmediumcolleen.com. And if you haven't seen my website yet, it's a brand new website. You definitely want to check it out. And you can also find me on Facebook, Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and intuitive life coach. Now we are going to go to our first caller, who is Renee from Mechanicsville, Maryland. Renee, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. And how can I help you today?
I'm just, I was listening to what you say about what life throws at you and everything, but some things are so devastating. I lost my son, my 25-year-old son in February, and that's not something that I can just let go of.
You just can't. Yes, and you can't. And I'm glad you brought that up because, when we have a serious loss, and I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm going to be doing a grief workshop next year. So I've been thinking about this a lot, about how we handle grief and how it shows up in our lives. And grief is a very special thing because we have to go through the process. We have to, eventually we accept what's happened. We have to. But that doesn't mean we ever forget. And that doesn't mean we move on and like things never happened. What actually really happens is we move into a new reality. And in that new reality, we have a different perspective on things. So now, if you were attached to the idea that maybe you feel guilty or something, you should have done something differently yourself. If you're attached to that idea, that would be something that you would have to work through and let go of, okay? And being attached to the idea, you know how sometimes we get stuck in emotions, we get stuck in grief, and it's very hard to move forward with that. And I'm sure you understand that. That's a perfectly natural thing. Of course, if it lasts for a significant amount of time, then that's the time we need to get some guidance to help us process the emotions of it. So I don't want you to think that I'm minimizing grief in any way, especially because that is something I deal with every single day, talking to people about their loved ones. Now, you said your son passed on the early side, that he was only in his 20s, yes?
Yes.
And can you, okay, because I do have somebody who's stepping in, and I do want to see if it is in fact him. Because tell me if this sounds like him. I get a lot of sensitivity with him. I get somebody who feels very deeply. I don't know if he shares that with everybody, but he feels very deeply. Is your son a sensitive one?
Yes.
Okay. And
yes,
would you understand him also? Okay. And would you understand him also to be actually a real sweetie pie? And that when he was younger, he was just about the cutest little thing you ever did see. But also there is, with that sensitivity I feel with him when he's younger, it seems as though sometimes things really would bother him and he would have a hard time adjusting to things. Did you ever notice that he would have a hard time adjusting to change or adjusting to, people who are jerks, and being able to move through emotions of things? Did you ever notice that about him?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And he may very well be stepping in. So I'm going to keep going with him if you want me to keep going with him. Because the way he's coming in, there's this feeling, I feel like he wants to apologize to you. Okay. He's giving me the impression he wants to apologize to you. And he says he's sorry for the pain that has occurred. He is taking some responsibility for this pain. I don't know, he hasn't told me yet how he passes or anything like that. So I don't know the circumstances as yet, but he wants to apologize. And he does give me the impression that he feels in some ways that his actions do contribute to his passing. Is that accurate?
He had a heart attack.
Okay. And would you understand him having symptoms before this? Because I really am getting the feeling that there were things he needed to do. And I don't know if it was contact a doctor or talk to somebody. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be accurate.
Okay. And he doesn't, and again, we don't want to minimize this, okay? Because the way he's coming through is he is a sweetie and he doesn't want to cause any pain to anybody. Okay. So for some reason, he feels responsible for this. We know he's really not, but this actually shows me a lot about him, because that shows me that he's a person who cares about his people and that he would never intentionally cause pain for somebody. Okay. So there is that impression coming through. He also talks about how much you talk to him, and you do talk to him quite a bit, and he does not mind that at all. And he would not mind if you keep talking to him quite a bit. He also gives me the impression that I know you have his pictures out and various things like that, but he's also showing me a closed off area. Have you closed off some space, maybe with his belongings in it or something, because you just really don't want to see them?
No, actually, no.
Okay, good.
No,
okay,
I love seeing his stuff, but at the same time, it hurts seeing his stuff.
Yes. Yeah, because there's a little bit to just how he's showing it to me. It just seems like, how can I put it? Measuring how your response is going to be, knowing how much you can handle at a time. So there is that. He seems to be really lovely, and he seems to be somebody that comes through with a lot of affection for people. And I do get the impression he's actually quite personable and has quite a few friends. Are you still in contact with one of his friends? Because he's giving me the impression somebody's still talking to you with some regularity.
His wife.
Okay. And you see her regularly and talk to her regularly?
Yes.
Okay. And that's important to acknowledge, because he's talking about having the inclusion, the family inclusion all around you. And he does want to acknowledge that. And he's thanking you for that too, because I know you're both going through some struggles, but he is thanking you for that, to make sure you're doing that as well. He says you're a lot stronger than you think you are, and you really figured that out pretty quickly, and that you can pretty much handle so much more than you thought you could. And again, I don't want to minimize how you're feeling, because you still have to experience the emotions. But he says you're doing a good job with it. He does want you to say hello to people around you, just to say hello, that he's doing well, that kind of feeling. Interesting. Very interesting. Did they have a child?
Yes, he has two little girls.
Okay, because I want to acknowledge that too, because there's a mention of kid. And I think it's just a mention, okay? I don't think I have to follow it and see if there's anything else going on. But I know he loves his family very much. And that was one of the best things ever in his life. And, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's the feeling too of him wanting to acknowledge their living situation right now, and just making sure everybody is okay there, making sure everything is working the way it's supposed to be. Have you been stepping in and actually helping with the children?
I used to. Now there's a little bit of a distance between us.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't see him quite as often as I used to.
Okay. Yeah, the connection, of course, is still there, so that's all good. Yeah, he does come through with a lot of love for you. So I will just leave that for you with his blessings there. He's a lovely man. I do really like him. What a good guy. It's so unfortunate, and he passes so soon, so I'm really sorry to hear that. That's just really unfortunate. Yeah. Do you know if that was a genetic thing? Because I'm getting a little feel of that.
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, he's younger than what the other ones were, but they've always been, for some reason, the men in my family that started having party very young.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's just a little genetic feeling coming in with that. So, yeah, I'm sure people are taking action as best they can to deal with that. Interesting. Okay, well, anyway, I will let you go. It was so nice talking to you, Renee, and I'm so sorry to hear about your son.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yes, you have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye. And that was Renee from Maryland. And now we will move on to Kim from Florida. Kim, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good. How can I help you?
I'm on a twin flame journey. You can give me anything about that?
Are you in a relationship now with somebody who you think is your twin flame?
Yes.
Okay. Twin flames are interesting. There's so many different perceptions of what twin flames are and how it works and what the point is and all of that. In my mind, when I think of twin flames, I think of the perception that people believe that the twin flame is like your other part. You're whole when you're together. Is that your same perception?
Yeah, that's what I've been told, yeah.
Okay. And just to make sure we're talking about the same things, because you just never know. My idea with like soulmates, and I kind of lump twin flames in together with this, is sometimes that this twin flame journey can be a little bit more difficult than we plan on it being. Like soulmates and twin flames, sometimes we think it's all going to be easy, and it's not necessarily that way. Are you experiencing any of that?
Yep, all of that.
Yeah. I was hoping I'd be wrong. I was like, oh, please say no. Yeah. Okay. And what my theory is, just based on my experiences so far in my life, is that these twin flames, these soulmates, they're here, yes, maybe to make us feel whole, but also to help us with our greatest spiritual growth. They're the ones that are supposed to be helping us become the best version of us. And sometimes to become the best version of who we are, we have some crap that goes on in our lives. We have situations that are difficult and more challenging. And part of it is based, we think things are going to be easier because we belong together, but that's not always the case. So if you're experiencing these things, there's probably a reason for it. It's supposed to be helping you learn and grow. Now, there is also another theory out there about soulmates. One is along the lines of just because they feel like they're your, perfect partner and all this stuff, and you feel that familiarity, and yes, we have to be with them. It could be that they killed you in a previous life. And you were supposed to, in this life, go, oh, wait a minute. I really have to make sure I know who you are first before I get to know you. So there's another theory there as well. So it's kind of giving people, yeah, it's interesting. It's a funny one, but it kind of makes sense. If you think about it for a second, because it makes us kind of pause. When we meet somebody and we get that instant attraction and we get that instant feeling like, yes, we're supposed to be together, that doesn't always mean jump in feet first and go, yes, this is great, this is wonderful. Okay, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your relationship, okay? I'm not saying to end it or anything like that, so don't read into that. All I'm saying is some different philosophies on these theories. Now, for you, I understand, in your relationship, that there is a very strong soul connection there. Would you agree that there is a very strong soul connection?
Yes.
And it feels like there are times where it feels like so perfect. And then there are other times it's just so wrong. Are you feeling it like that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. You're totally in it.
Yeah.
And so it all comes, yeah, great, huh? So it all comes back to you being responsible for how you feel and what actions you can take to make the relationship even better. Frequently with a soul relationship, the female is the one that seems to do most of the work. Is that happening for you? Okay. So that tends to be what happens. The guys don't feel it as strongly as the girls do for some reason, usually, unless they're very evolved in a spiritual way. So for you, you have to be very clear. You have to say things as directly as possible so that it gets through. So you just have to do that. whatever the issues can be that come up, that bother you, or whatever it is, you need to kind of look at it in terms of what you can learn from the situation. Maybe it is as simple as speaking your mind. Maybe it's as simple as kind of going, you know what, this issue isn't that important. I've got to just let it go. Maybe it's a way to get out of your own head, whatever it is. So you've kind of got to look at it as a little bit of a mirror and see what you can learn. Because once you start doing that, the whole relationship will shift again. As soon as you start recognizing.
We get into a lot of arguments, like, you know, they say triggers, whatever, over my Facebook. Because he doesn't believe like in the twin flame thing. He feels the connection with us and, you know, with me, but he doesn't want me like to put any pictures of us up on Facebook, because he says we're not in a relationship. Me, it's a relationship. We've seen each other for 3 years.
Okay, so
I keep trying to figure out what it is that I have to fix there.
Okay, so
like,
this is what you got.
You know how they say you have blocks and all that?
Yes, oh yes, totally. And I only have like a minute left, so I'm going to go really fast. Okay. So what we want to do is you have to definitely look at what's happening in the relationship and look at yourself. What's acceptable to you? What is it you want? And then you've got to decide to stand up for yourself and do whatever it is you need to do. So rather than thinking you've got to fix it because he's a twin flame or whatever, whether he believes it or not, is, again, like I said, maybe he killed you in a previous life. Who knows? So you've got to really think about what it is you want. So it's all about you and what's necessary for you. So all of the problems you've got to think about on a little bit deeper level, get a different perspective. That's going to help you sort this out. Okay. And I'm so sorry, Kim, because I'm going to have to actually let you go. But it was nice talking to you. Think about what I've said, because I think it really can help you a lot.
Okay. How do I go back and replay the video? I know you said. I know they said
they'll post
what was your
it.
name?
They'll post it. Yeah, they'll post it on the Facebook page, and they'll post it right there. Okay. So thank you everybody for watching. You can connect with me at psychicmediumcolleen.com. You guys have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.